Hello and welcome back to the Average Joe podcast. I'm your host here, Joe, and today we are talking why do athletes go broke? So I don't know, this has just been kind of a little heavy on my mind lately. I've been watching a little bit too many YouTube videos, kind of gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but you wonder why so many athletes are broke. And I think it's because athletes just essentially hit the, lottery one day. They wake up and it's essentially, millions of dollars thrown at them. And, most come from, financially illiterate families, a lot grew up in the projects, a lot of, their families, they are the first in their family to ever make it, let alone touch $1 million. And, so they're kind of thrust into this, and everybody's just kind of winging it on their own. And of course, these institutions are, set up to come, use and abuse, these kids and, kind of like bleed them dry and then, pass them to the side once their time is up with them. But I always still just wonder, how do you hit the lottery and, essentially still go broke? And it's because, first of all, your parents, they don't know any better. And then second of all, it's just a lot of greed. So they get in and they think that you're just going to keep making this money and it's just, never going to end. And, they also get trapped into this, like, I've never had, so then I'm going to go excessively hard. So they'll go buy, this, 10,000 square foot home as if, the 2,000 square foot home wasn't going to be good enough. And, and they just go into excess. And it's like, nobody ever thinks like, just longevity. Like when Mike Tyson bought his home, Evander Holyfield, it ended up costing him $1 million in maintenance a year. Like, why would you go buy a house that's going to cost you $1 million in maintenance? And that's essentially what a lot of rappers go do. They go buy items that are going to continuously cost them, maintenance, security. Like when you buy a chain, first of all, you get the chain customized. So even if you spend $100,000 on a chain, that same chain is maybe worth $65,000, $70,000. Then you have to buy insurance on it. Then you have to buy, you have to pay for security. Then, it's just not worth that $100,000 that you spent on it. And essentially you're going to keep spending more. Insurance is going to keep going. Insurance is always going to be there. Your cleaning fees. It's just like nobody's ever buying assets. Like you have these shows. They break down all these athletes, they go on there and they talk about how they blew their first million and they all just talk about how they blew it. And it's like, a lot of these athletes are Black. And it's like, why don't you guys come help build our community? It's essentially, we get the money and then just give it right back. And then a couple of years down the road, we cry like, oh man, I got injured and, that $20 million contract, I thought I was, guaranteed. It's only about $4 million, but I'm already about 2.5 million, deep in expenditures. And I don't know, sometimes when they say they don't know where their next move could be, because like, it really could be that situation for them. And the lawyers and accountants and agents, they're meant to keep you ignorant. So they just kind of tell you, sign here, do this, do there, do this, do there. And we never learn from the athletes who make it. We see what Shaq tells us to do. Like, oh, we never spent our advertising money. We never spent any of our, NBA checks. Or, we started investing this money, or we didn't make that first purchase until we knew we were extremely comfortable enough to make that. Like, you don't just make $1 million and then go buy a $250,000 car. But that's what it's like essentially trained to do, because that's what our culture tells us is the right thing to do. It doesn't tell us to start investing until, and even when we say that we're investing, it's just kind of like, it's just a cool thing to say. It's like, are you investing? And do you really know what you're investing in? And, you talk to these athletes, they a lot of them sound a little brain dead. Like, they don't sound like the smartest apples on the tree. They just say investing because that just sounds like the right thing to say. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing some investing. I'm doing that. But it's like, okay, what are you actually investing in? Like, what is your, stock portfolio looking really like? Because you can quickly tell me your asset portfolio, your liability portfolio of all these, these fleets of cars. But, the athletes, and then they turn around and marry women. And they've said that the divorce rate in the like entertainment world is somewhere around 60 to 80% of them. So then these athletes get out and they get married, and with marriages that have a 60 to 80% divorce rate, so then there goes half your money. Or you get into the game and you quickly have 1, 2, 3 baby mamas, so there goes your money in child support. You turn around and have domestic violence issues, and now you're paying lawyer fees, and you got to miss this practice. Or it's just, nobody's explaining to people. And no, that's not true. That's actually not true, because this is definitely not the first video where we're talking about the athletes go broke. Athletes tell each other all the time, the OGs step in and tell them, like, don't spend all your money, don't spend all your money, but they all seem to spend all their money. And I wonder what would happen if all the athletes actually came together and like actually pooled all their money together, because these athletes are signing, some hefty contracts, and actually did something. I wonder, just a crazy thought there. And also, when you talk about athletes going broke, we only really talk about the Black athletes going broke, because the white athletes don't seem to run into the same issue. Because, the sport that's most prone for an athlete to go broke is the NFL, which is, a predominantly Black sport. And you know what sport is less likely, or the least likely to go broke? And it's baseball. And it's also because, baseball players are white. So a lot of them come from, middle class backgrounds, or people with a little bit of knowledge, or, somebody who knew a little bit of something, just got them into better deals, and, actually really got them into that, that stock portfolio that you were just kind of, claiming you were in, and didn't let them go buy liabilities right off the bat. Like, you never really see white athletes, spend the money in the, in the magnitude that the black athletes do. You saw Mike Tyson blow $400 million, just like poof, and it was just gone. You see how Floyd Mayweather spends money, and you're just like, this is just not okay. You saw what happened to MC Hammer. You see what happens to so many NFL players, because their time is a very finite time in football or in basketball. You're one injury away from all your money, ceasing to stop. And, it's not everybody who gets to be like Shaquille O'Neal, and you get that Sports Center, contract, or like Magic Johnson, or like Charles Barkley. Not everybody falls into that same trap, or, not trap, but falls into that same success route. Sports Center only has, also many time slots. So what happens to all the rest of those athletes? It's sad. And I just wonder why, and the problem I'm really having is like, it's so detrimental to our community, because it is so much money that is, accumulated in these athletes, and you just don't see them really living up to their potential, and how they could be really creating generational wealth. It's just, they hit the lottery, and, the family members and everybody ate for a little while, and then it all kind of dwindles away. And I want more athletes out there. Athletes, don't worry, I'm going to talk about rappers and everything on another video, just because we can get into their lifestyle. But this one is specifically, athletes, and, because just like, artists, like, you have a, finite time, and it's just so much money thrown at you. And even the bench warmers, you're making, $500,000 sometimes. Like, these people are making significant amounts of money, and the money just goes. So I just wonder, what can we do to prevent our athletes from going broke? We do need more fathers out there like LeVar Ball, he was not going to let his sons, fail. And, he, put them in the right positions. And we know, their money's, securely invested. And, they're not out here making, reckless expenditures just right out the gate. We see money doesn't need, when you have wealth, it doesn't need to be shown physically. You can just have it, and it can just show on you. Mark Zuckerberg walks around in like slacks and outfits, and you just think he's that just regular kid out there. And you wouldn't know how much money they have, but we feel the need to kind of like wear our wealth, and as soon as we touch the money, it just like goes. So probably try to put the link in where it talks about the athletes where they talk about spending their first million. But you should kind of take a look into it because you see where a lot of our money in our community, you see where it goes. It doesn't go into our pockets. You see, they catch that $1 million check and it's just right back out of our community. And also too, they're not really putting their family and friends in better positions to actually help them, because you don't just give people money and expect that to be the way they help them. You really have to find a business or put them on payroll, or find something for them to be not just a liability on you. And this could be a lesson learned to plenty of people. But stay tuned, because this is going to be some more topics out there, because I want to also get a little bit into social welfare and my thoughts on that. And we'll get into why musicians go broke, because that's big. Because, musicians are literally one hit song away, from success. And then, one no song away from, total detriment in the community, and it's just kind of how you manage your money. But this all stems from the childhood and your parents and the communities you grow from, you came from, and, the values and the morals and the mentalities and the education that, you gained from them. That's what, prepares you to when you do hit 18, 19, 21 and you run into a lot of money. Your family knows what to do, because they can't look at the 18, 19-year-old one to come solve all their problems. The parents too have to be in a much, in a decent position. And that's why the baseball athletes, also, they, get that head start on us. But, stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for part 2, because, this is, we're definitely going to dive into this more.